What do you do when you have no inheritance, no family connections, no starting capital, and no one waiting to give you an opportunity? Most people in that position stay exactly where they are. They wait, they hope, they tell themselves that when the right moment comes, they will be ready. Jacob did not wait. Jacob left with nothing and returned with flocks, herds, servants, silver, gold, a multi-generational estate built entirely from the labor of his own hands and the sharpness of his own mind. And the financial strategy he used to do it is one of the most sophisticated wealth-building blueprints in all of Scripture. Tonight, we break it down. Every move, every negotiation, every principle, and exactly how a modern professional applies it starting this week. Before we go into the strategy, we need to understand who Jacob was at the starting point, because the starting point is everything. Jacob was the second-born son of Isaac. In the ancient world, the firstborn inherited everything: the land, the livestock, the family name, the blessing. Jacob was born second, which meant, by the rules of his world, he was entitled to nothing. No land, no estate, no starting capital. His brother Esau would receive it all. Now, the circumstances around how Jacob received the blessing are complicated, and Scripture does not shy away from the complexity. He was not a perfect man. He was deceptive in his early years, calculating, self-serving. But here is what Throne of Wealth teaches, and what Scripture consistently demonstrates. God does not require perfection before he works with a person. He requires availability and willingness to move. Jacob moved. After a falling out with his brother, he left home with nothing but a staff in his hand. Genesis 32:10 records Jacob's own words looking back years later. "I crossed this Jordan with only my staff, and now I have become 2 camps." Genesis 32:10, 1 staff, and the knowledge of how to turn that staff into 2 camps. That is the Jacob blueprint. The first principle: labor as leverage. Jacob did something different. He negotiated. Before he worked a single day, he established the terms. He offered Laban 7 years of labor in exchange for Rachel, Laban's daughter, as his wife. 7 years. Upfront commitment. Clear terms. Agreed in advance. This is not a romantic story. This is a contract negotiation. And here is the financial intelligence inside that negotiation. Jacob did not ask for wages. He asked for equity. Rachel was not just a wife. Rachel was access to Laban's household, his networks, his land, his livestock operations. Jacob understood that marrying into the right structure was worth more than any salary Laban could have offered him. He was not trading time for money. He was trading time for position. The modern parallel is precise. The professional who joins a company and negotiates only for salary is thinking like an employee. The professional who negotiates for equity, for ownership stake, for a percentage of what their labor produces, is thinking like Jacob. Same labor, different structure, completely different outcome 20 years later. The second principle: when the terms change, you adapt. After Jacob's 14 years of labor, Laban had changed his wages 10 times. 10 times. Every time Jacob's position improved, Laban adjusted the terms to claw back the advantage. Most people facing this situation have one of 2 responses. They either accept the new terms out of dependency, or they leave out of anger. Jacob did neither. He proposed a new structure. Genesis 30. Jacob goes to Laban and negotiates a performance-based agreement. He would continue managing Laban's flocks, but his compensation would not be a fixed wage. It would be a specific portion of the future offspring, the speckled, spotted, and dark-colored animals. Laban agreed, believing he had the advantage, because in Laban's experience, those colored animals were rare. What Laban did not account for was that Jacob understood animal husbandry at a level that Laban did not. Jacob selectively bred the strongest animals. He positioned the livestock to produce the precise offspring that would belong to him. He used knowledge, deep, technical, specific knowledge of his industry, to build equity within a system that was designed to keep him as a laborer. This is not manipulation. This is expertise deployed strategically. The professional who knows their industry deeply, who understands the mechanics of value creation inside their field. holds an advantage that no employer can fully account for. That knowledge, deployed with patience and precision, is the modern equivalent of Jacob's selective breeding strategy. You are building within the system, using what you know, creating outcomes the system did not anticipate. The third principle: asset selection over income. Here is the detail in Jacob's strategy that most people miss entirely. He did not ask Laban for money. He asked for animals. In the economy of the ancient Near East, animals were not possessions. They were productive assets. A flock of sheep produces wool every year. A herd of cattle produces milk, labor, and offspring. Animals reproduce. They compound. A flock of 100 becomes a flock of 200, without Jacob doing additional work to create the growth. Jacob understood, with a clarity that most modern professionals have never applied to their own financial decisions, that there is a fundamental difference between collecting income and acquiring assets. Income stops when you stop. Assets produce while you sleep. He chose assets, every time. When he could have asked for silver, he asked for livestock. When he could have taken wages, he took ownership. And 20 years of compounding animal reproduction produced a wealth position that no amount of collected wages could have matched. The modern professional faces the same choice. Every month, when the salary arrives, the question Jacob's strategy forces is not, "What can I spend this on?" The question is, "What asset can this become?" A portion of every income that arrives, converted into something that produces without you, is Jacob's livestock strategy applied to the modern economy. The salary is the starting material. The asset is the destination. The fourth principle: knowing when to leave. This is the principle that most wealth-building content never teaches, because it is uncomfortable, and it requires a clarity of self-assessment that very few people develop. After 20 years, Jacob received a clear signal. Laban's attitude toward him had changed. The environment that had once been productive had become extractive. The system that Jacob had used to build his position was now working against him, and Jacob recognized the signal. Genesis 31:12. God said to Jacob, "I have seen all that Laban is doing to you." And Jacob moved, not impulsively, not emotionally. He gathered everything he had built, his flocks, his herds, his family, his household, and he left with what he had earned. The modern parallel is one of the most important financial decisions a professional can make. There is a season for staying inside an organization, extracting knowledge, building position, accumulating capital. And there is a season for leaving, taking what has been built and deploying it independently. Most people stay too long. They remain in environments that have become extractive because the familiarity feels safer than the unknown of what leaving would require. Jacob did not confuse familiarity with productivity. When the environment stopped serving the strategy, he changed the environment, and the wealth he carried out of Laban's house became the foundation of the nation of Israel. 12 sons, 12 tribes, a legacy that outlasted him by thousands of years. Now let us bring Jacob's 4 principles into the week ahead. Principle 1. Negotiate for position, not just pay. The next time a compensation conversation happens, ask what equity looks like. Ask what ownership stake is possible. Ask what percentage of the value you create can be structured as yours. The answer may be no, but the question changes how you are perceived and how you perceive yourself. Principle 2. Deploy your deepest knowledge strategically. Jacob did not just work harder than everyone around him. He knew something about the livestock that Laban did not. What do you know about your industry, deeply, technically, specifically, that most people around you do not? That knowledge, deployed strategically, rather than simply performed for a salary, is your selective breeding strategy. Principle 3. Convert income into assets before lifestyle consumes it. Every month, before the salary is spent, a portion moves into something that produces, not savings sitting idle, something that generates, a property, an equity stake, a position in a productive asset class. Jacob never took wages when he could take livestock. You should never take income when you can take assets. Principle 4. Audit your environment annually. Every 12 months, ask honestly, is this environment still building me, or is it now consuming me? Is the organization I'm working for still a vehicle for my strategy, or has it become a ceiling on it? Jacob's 20 years were productive because he assessed the environment continuously. The moment it stopped serving him, he left with everything he had built. Jacob started with one staff, no inheritance, no family network, no starting capital, no one waiting to hand him an opportunity. He arrived in a foreign place, worked for a difficult employer, had his wages changed 10 times, and left 20 years later as one of the wealthiest men in the region. Not because he was lucky, not because God made it easy, because he negotiated with precision, deployed his knowledge strategically, chose assets over income, and knew exactly when the season had ended. That is not an ancient story. That is the biography of every diaspora professional who has ever built something real in a foreign economy, with a difficult employer, in a system that was not designed to reward them. You are Jacob. You may be in the middle of your 14 years right now, working for someone else's vision, building someone else's flock, watching your wages get changed. But Jacob never stopped building. He built inside the constraint until the constraint became a launch pad, and what he launched from Laban's house changed the trajectory of an entire bloodline. You have the same blueprint. You have the same God. You have the same capacity to negotiate, to deploy knowledge, to choose assets, and to know when to move. The only question is whether you are going to use it. The next video in this series examines another biblical figure who built generational wealth from the most unlikely starting position. Every video on this channel is one piece of the same ancient blueprint, rebuilt for the professional who was never supposed to have access to it. Subscribe, come prepared.